You see, when we think about loss, we often imagine it as a moment in time, a sudden void, an empty space where something used to be. And when it comes to relationships, we tend to think that the person who moves on or appears distant is the one who suffers the most. But here's the thing: loss is not a one-sided event. It is an experience shared in silence, in places we cannot always see. The hidden depths of emotion often go unnoticed, not because they are absent, but because they are veiled behind layers of self-preservation and societal expectations. Emotions, particularly those related to loss, are complex and multifaceted. While the surface may seem calm, beneath it can lie a vast ocean of feelings that have not been fully expressed or understood. In relationships, people tend to present themselves in ways that protect them from vulnerability. And because of this, others may not realize the extent of their emotional turmoil. The assumption that someone who appears strong or unaffected is not deeply impacted by loss can be misleading. In reality, the most profound emotions are often felt in silence, hidden away from the world, and even from the person experiencing them. When someone experiences the loss of a connection, whether through separation or distance, the emotional impact is rarely confined to a single moment. It stretches across time, echoing in the mind long after the physical absence occurs. The sense of loss manifests in subtle ways of fleeting thought, a moment of nostalgia, or a sudden, unexplainable feeling of emptiness. These emotions are not easily articulated because they exist in a space that is difficult to describe. Words fall short when trying to express the depth of how someone feels about losing a part of their life that they once held close. The emotional depth can be overwhelming, yet it is often concealed in the day-to-day interactions and behaviors that might appear unaffected. What makes these hidden depths of emotion even more complex is the way in which society often discourages vulnerability. There is an unspoken expectation to move on or let go, especially when it comes to relationships. People may not feel comfortable sharing their inner turmoil, not because they don't want to, but because they fear judgment, rejection, or the perception of weakness. In many cases, the individual who is grieving may not even be fully aware of the extent of their emotional pain until they are alone, reflecting in quiet moments. They may carry on with their lives, interacting with others, going through the motions, yet within them, a storm of emotions brews emotions that are far more intense and far-reaching than what is visible on the surface. For someone who is emotionally invested in a relationship, the loss becomes a part of their psyche, shaping how they view the world moving forward. The loss doesn't just affect the immediate emotional state, but it reverberates through their interactions, their thoughts, and even their perceptions of other people. It's as if a part of them is missing, and they are left trying to make sense of the empty space. In a way, the emotional depth of the loss continues to grow even after the initial pain has subsided. It becomes embedded in their memory and identity, influencing how they approach future relationships and how they navigate the world. What may seem like moving on is actually a form of adaptation, as the individual slowly learns to live with the absence of what they once had. This emotional complexity is further compounded by the fact that people do not always understand their own emotions. Sometimes the depth of feeling is only realized in retrospect, when a particular scent, a familiar song, or a shared memory triggers a rush of emotion that was long suppressed. The true weight of the loss may not be fully comprehended until it reappears in unexpected ways. It is this hidden nature of emotional depth that makes loss such a personal and often isolating experience. Even when surrounded by others, the individual may feel as though they are carrying a burden that no one else can fully understand. The unspoken connection that forms between two people is often one of the most powerful and profound aspects of any relationship. It transcends words and gestures, existing in the quiet moments and subtle exchanges that are too often overlooked. This connection is not based on what is said or done, but on the underlying understanding, the shared energy that flows between two individuals. It's in the way one person can sense the other's mood without them saying a word, or how a simple glance can carry the weight of an entire conversation. These connections are felt on a deeper, almost instinctual level. And yet they are often the hardest to articulate because they don't rely on verbal communication or even conscious thought. In every meaningful relationship, there exists a certain resonance, a quiet synchronization of emotions and energies that shapes the way two people interact with each other. When you spend enough time with someone, especially in close relationships, this resonance grows stronger, sometimes without either person even being fully aware of it. It's in the comfort of a shared silence, in the way you both find peace in just being near one another without the need for constant conversation. The connection becomes a kind of unspoken language that both parties understand and rely on, even if it is never verbalized. This unspoken connection is particularly significant in moments of vulnerability, when words are insufficient, or when one person is struggling to express their feelings. It is this subtle energy that often carries the weight of the emotion. In those moments, the connection becomes more meaningful than any words could ever be. It allows the individuals to feel understood, even when their thoughts are not fully formed, or when they are unable to speak their pain. The unspoken bond becomes a quiet support system, a safe space in which both people can exist without the need for explanation or justification. Over time, this connection grows so integral to the relationship that it can be felt even in moments of separation. When one person is absent, the other may sense their absence in ways that go beyond physical space. The quiet resonance that was once shared now becomes an echo, a reminder of the bond that once existed. This is where the power of an unspoken connection lies. It is not contingent on physical presence, but on the emotional and energetic bond that was forged. Even when someone is no longer there, the connection can continue to linger like a whisper that won't fade. For those who have experienced a deep and meaningful connection with another person, the absence of that bond can create a profound sense of emptiness. It's as though a part of oneself is missing, and the world feels slightly out of alignment. The loss of this unspoken connection is often more difficult to reconcile than the loss of more tangible aspects of a relationship. The words, the touch, and the shared experiences may fade over time, but the absence of that subtle energy can be far more unsettling. The connection is not easily replaced because it's not something that can be built with just anyone. It is unique to the individuals involved, a product of shared history, understanding, and emotional resonance. When we lose someone with whom we shared an unspoken connection, we don't just lose the person. We lose the quiet rhythm of our interactions, the unarticulated language that bound us together. And while we may move on, find new connections, and form new bonds, the absence of that specific resonance leaves a lasting imprint, one that is felt more deeply than we often realize. Emotional investment is a powerful force in any relationship, shaping not only how we connect with others, but also how we experience and perceive the world around us. It goes beyond the surface-level interactions or the mere exchange of time and energy. Emotional investment means placing a part of your inner self, your hopes, and your vulnerabilities into another person, trusting that they will not only understand but reciprocate that openness. This level of commitment creates a bond that is often far more significant than we realize in the moment, and it can affect every aspect of how we experience the relationship and later how we cope with its absence. When someone invests emotionally in a relationship, they do so by offering a piece of their identity, their emotional landscape, to the other person. This investment is often invisible, manifesting in quiet gestures, shared vulnerabilities, and the ways in which we prioritize the other person's feelings. It's in the way you open up about your fears and aspirations, how you listen with empathy and offer support without being asked. The deeper the emotional investment, the more the person becomes intertwined with the other person's life, influencing not just their emotional state, but also their thoughts and actions. This level of investment creates an intricate, sometimes unconscious, interdependence. When you invest emotionally in someone, your well-being becomes linked to theirs, and vice versa. This doesn't mean that you lose yourself or your sense of individuality, but rather that your emotional state is often shaped by their presence and your shared experiences. The other person's happiness becomes a reflection of your own, and their struggles become your struggles. This shared emotional landscape becomes the foundation of your connection, a web that strengthens with each interaction and experience. However, this emotional investment also makes the loss of the connection more profound. When a relationship ends or changes, the emotional investment does not simply disappear. It lingers, and it can be disorienting to realize how deeply intertwined your emotions were with someone else's. The person you were emotionally connected to becomes a part of how you understand yourself, and when that connection is severed, it feels as though a part of you is ripped away. It is not just the loss of another person, but the loss of the shared world you both inhabited, the rhythm of daily interactions that shaped your emotional state. Emotional investment also brings with it an underlying sense of vulnerability. The more you invest, the more at risk you become. You expose yourself to the possibility of disappointment, hurt, or rejection, knowing that the more you give, the more it can hurt when things don't go as expected. This vulnerability can be difficult to navigate, yet it is what makes the emotional connection so powerful. Without that willingness to be vulnerable, the bond would lack the depth and intimacy that come from truly trusting another person with your feelings and your heart. But the investment is not without reward. When a relationship is emotionally fulfilling, the return on that investment is immeasurable. The joy of shared experiences, the comfort of knowing someone truly understands you, and the sense of being seen for who you truly are all the fruits of this emotional commitment. It enriches your life in ways that no material possession or superficial connection can. The more deeply you invest emotionally, the more profound your relationship becomes. However, it is this same investment that makes the absence of that relationship so difficult to endure. For you are not just losing a person, you are losing the part of yourself that was shaped by that connection. Love, at its core, can be understood as a mirror, a reflection of who we are, who we wish to be, and who we allow ourselves to become in the presence of another. It is more than an exchange of affection or passion. It is the recognition of something within ourselves that we may not even fully understand. When we love someone, we are not only relating to them as they are, but also seeing ourselves through their eyes, through their reactions, and through the way they hold space for us. The way we love reflects how we feel about ourselves, how we value ourselves, and how we relate to the world around us. At the deepest level, love functions as a mirror that reveals parts of our own identity that we might otherwise overlook. When someone loves us, their gaze, their care, and their attention can illuminate parts of ourselves that we have yet to discover. This is why love can feel so transformative. It reflects not only the person we are, but the person we could be. In their eyes, we see the potential of who we are becoming, sometimes a version of ourselves that we haven't quite embraced yet. Through love, we gain access to a mirror that does not simply reflect our external selves, but also the inner layers of our soul. This reflection is not always flattering. Love often mirrors the parts of ourselves that we are reluctant to confront, the insecurities, the fears, the flaws. When someone loves us deeply, they see us not only in our best moments, but in our most vulnerable, raw states. It is in those moments of vulnerability that the reflection of self-love becomes most evident. It is a love that holds space for imperfection, a love that doesn't demand us to be perfect, but allows us to exist fully, just as we are. This unconditional nature of love teaches us to soften the harsh judgments we place on ourselves and embrace our imperfections with compassion. Furthermore, love allows us to explore our values and beliefs through the lens of another person. It challenges our preconceptions and encourages us to grow beyond our comfort zones. When we love someone, we become more attuned to what truly matters to us, what aligns with our core beliefs, and what we are willing to stand for. Love is not a static experience. It is dynamic and ever-evolving, shaped by the constant interplay of our own sense of self and the other person's influence on us. Through the love we give and receive, we uncover new layers of meaning and purpose, evolving together in the shared space of mutual understanding and respect. As we give ourselves to love, we often see mirrored back to us the parts of our personality that we might not always recognize. Our reactions to love, whether they are of joy, fear, or conflict, are often direct reflections of our relationship with ourselves. A person who struggles to accept love from others may also struggle to offer love to themselves. Similarly, someone who is generous and accepting in love may also embody that same generosity in their relationship with their own being. The way we show up in relationships and the love we are capable of offering is deeply intertwined with our ability to love ourselves. In essence, love is a reflection that invites us to know ourselves more intimately, not just as an individual, but as a person in relation to others. Through the act of loving, we are constantly reshaped, redefined, and revealed to ourselves in ways we never imagined. Love, therefore, is not just an external experience, but a mirror that reflects our truest, most authentic self back at us, allowing us to see not only who we are, but who we have the potential to become. The inability to forget is a profound aspect of human experience, a lingering presence that persists far beyond the moments or relationships we try to leave behind. Forgetting, in its simplest form, seems like a natural response to loss. But the reality is that our memories are not so easily erased. They are imprinted on us, woven into the very fabric of our being, and even when we try to move forward, they continue to shape the way we see the world. The inability to forget is not merely about recalling specific events or faces, it is about the deeper connection to emotions, experiences, and lessons that stay with us, sometimes without us even realizing how much they influence our lives. One reason we struggle to forget is because of the emotional depth tied to certain experiences. Emotions, particularly those tied to love, loss, and significant life events, create neural pathways that are stronger than any fleeting memory. These emotional connections form lasting imprints on our minds, often more vivid and enduring than our logical recollections. It's not just the moments we share with others that remain, but the way those moments made us feel the joy, the pain, the wonder, the longing. These emotions become intertwined with our identity, making it impossible to simply erase them as we might a name or a face. The impact of these feelings continues to resonate long after the moment has passed. Moreover, our memories don't just reside in our minds, they are also felt in our bodies. The inability to forget manifests physically in the way certain situations, sounds, or even smells can transport us back to a moment in time. It's not always a conscious recollection, but a sudden rush of sensation that ties us to the past. The song that once played during a significant time in our lives can trigger a flood of memories, or a certain location might bring back a sense of nostalgia and longing, even if we haven't thought about that time in years. Our bodies, much like our minds, remember things we often wish we could forget. The inability to forget becomes a persistent undercurrent in our physical experience, shaping how we navigate the world. The struggle to forget also stems from our natural desire to make sense of the experiences that shaped us. We seek closure, understanding, and resolution, hoping that if we can process our memories, we will be able to move forward. However, true closure is not always attainable, and some memories don't have clear resolutions. We are left with the lingering feeling that something remains unresolved, which keeps the memory alive in ways we may not anticipate. It's not that we want to dwell in the past, it's that the past continually informs our present, often unconsciously guiding our decisions, reactions, and interactions with the world. While the inability to forget can be painful, it also serves as a reminder of our emotional depth and capacity for growth. These memories, both the joyful and the painful, become part of who we are. They shape our worldview, influence how we relate to others, and define the ways in which we move through life. Forgetting is not always the answer, because it would mean losing a part of ourselves. The inability to forget means that we are constantly evolving, revisiting our past and learning from it, even if it feels like an ongoing struggle. It is through these unforgettables that we continue to grow and change, creating a tapestry of experiences that makes us who we are. The lasting presence of love is something that transcends the boundaries of time and space, existing far beyond the moments we share with someone. Love, once experienced deeply, creates an imprint on the soul that doesn't simply fade when the relationship changes or the person leaves. It lingers in both subtle and profound ways, shaping the way we perceive the world long after the physical presence of the one we loved is gone. It exists in the quiet spaces, in the corners of our memory, in the way we still feel connected to that person, even when they are no longer by our side. The presence of love is not bound by time or physicality. It is an enduring force that remains with us, reshaping us even after the relationship itself has ended. When we love someone, we don't just invest in them. In the moment, we invest in the potential of the connection. The moments shared, the laughter, the quiet understanding, and the bond formed all become a part of our emotional landscape. Even when someone is no longer physically present, those moments continue to echo within us. The love we experience doesn't vanish overnight. It slowly transforms into something else, an enduring memory that affects our emotions, decisions, and even how we view ourselves. This lasting presence of love is carried in the way we approach future relationships, in the values and lessons learned from that love, and in the subtle ways we still feel its energy, even if we can no longer touch or speak to the person. The presence of love also manifests in the way we remember someone. We might not always be consciously thinking about them, but certain experiences, feelings, or moments can suddenly stir memories of the connection we once shared. These memories are not simply recollections of what was, but they are imprinted with the emotions we experienced in the relationship. The joy, the challenges, the tenderness, these feelings don't simply vanish with time. They become part of our emotional fabric, woven into the way we respond to the world and others. Even when we try to move on, those memories continue to resurface, reminding us that the love once shared still occupies a space in our hearts and minds. Love, in its lasting presence, also has a transformative quality. It doesn't just remain static in our memories. It shapes who we are, guiding how we grow and evolve. The person we loved and the love we gave and received influences our emotional growth. It teaches us lessons about vulnerability, compassion, forgiveness, and acceptance, lessons that continue to resonate in our lives. Even in the absence of the person, the love we gave and received molds our understanding of ourselves and the world. It deepens our capacity for connection and understanding, expanding our emotional awareness and the way we approach future relationships. The lasting presence of love is also felt in the way we continue to carry parts of the other person within us. Their influence on our thoughts, feelings, and actions remains. Perhaps it's the way they change the way we view certain aspects of life, or how they helped us understand our own desires and boundaries. These aspects of love become an integral part of who we are, shaping our identity long after the physical relationship has ended. The love doesn't simply fade into the past, it becomes a part of our present, an invisible thread that connects us to a time, a person, and a part of ourselves that still lives within us.